Well, we need to talk about what's happening in the serialized market right now. While everyone's talking about Universes Beyond, Marvel, whether or not Turtles and Pizza should be in Magic the Gathering, the real money and the real market movements are happening quietly under our nose with nobody seeming to realize. What am I talking about? Well, over the past 3 to 4 months, there has been pretty dramatic uptick in purchases of serialized cards, which is causing a cascading effect across older collector booster boxes and sets, increasing their value, repricing them at a higher point. And I think some are buyouts and some are organic, and we're going to talk about the very real price thresholds now shifting upward for serialized cards for your consideration for what this means for box purchases that you might make in 2026 that have or may contain serialized cards. Look, let's start right here first. Urbrask the Hidden. This is serialized March of the Machine, a multiversal Legends here. $449 is the market price. Now, right now, lowest price is $380. We're going to start small and work our way up. Looking at the data here, this thing sold $270, $290, $309, $270. So right now, all inventory from the end of January into mid-March that was below $310 has been purchased. Now your lowest purchase price is $380. That's a small jump, but a very clear signal these are repricing higher. Let's go to a bigger example. Vorin collects, it sees more play, Voice of Hunger. I play this card, it's great. Look at this chart here. Lowest you can buy it for now, $895, and then only 2 at that price point, and then jumping up to $1,000, and that's all that's available. Look at the sales. This looks like almost a buyout. From December till mid-February, every one below $390 was purchased with glee, and now they're repriced at more than double the value at $895. So your window to get Vorin collects for under $400 appears to be gone, and now this is repriced to over double. Then we look at Skithiryx here. The Blight Dragon, a super powerful mono black dragon that sees plays in almost every dragon deck where you can afford to put it in. This one, there are no current listings, so incredibly scarce, and it sold for $800 and then around $600 twice over, the most recent being sold in March. So the between $400 to $800 price point for serialized cards, and certainly below $400, which we'll talk about later on in the video, are just being gobbled up by the market. And you know what? This is having a very real cascading effect on the boxes themselves. Look at the chart. In December, when all these purchases started happening, the box price has been adjusting up and up and up to now $600 for one sealed box, and that is as low as you're going to get it moving forward. These are moving with an increased volume even at that $600 price point. Why? Because the most sought after cards inside this box now have a proven market. They are selling at around this price. So I think people are taking the gamble, or they're hoping this repricing will continue. We have lots more to talk about. This is just a taste of what's in this video. And I think you're going to want to see the very real ceiling that's being established as well, so you can have a realistic mindset for what it's worth to buy serialized cards now or boxes that may contain them. Hey everyone, I'm the Nerdy Attorney. Thanks for stopping by. If you like content like this, that's analytical about Magic, yet not relentlessly negative about it, while talking about markets, gameplay, and doing box openings, then hey, maybe subscribe. Also, if you have a lot of cardboard you want to sell in order to maybe pick up some of these sealed boxes or snag the serializeds before they're gone, check out Card Conduit, one of the best ways to sell your cards on the internet. Use promo code NERDY for 10% off your fees at checkout. And then also check out Manapool, which is apparently the largest growing online sales database for Magic the Gathering cards, a sponsor of this channel, who now is also sponsoring Commander at Home, which is amazing. So I guess I got in early enough where they still wanted to talk to a small channel like me. Thanks, Manapool. I appreciate it. Affiliate link below. Use that to purchase your cards after you get all that sweet cash from Card Conduit. I greatly appreciate it. And then finally, thanks to all our patrons who help make these videos possible. Shout outs will come at the end. And we're getting close to the patron giveaway of a sealed TMNT Play Booster box. Any patron at any level has access to winning this giveaway. But if you're a paid member, even at the $1 tier, we'll do a live box opening for you on stream. It should be fun. All right, let's dive in to this market analysis. A lot more to talk about. So we've already talked about March of the Machines and what we're seeing there. Let's talk about one of the biggest offenders for this repricing here, and it's Baral, Chief of Compliance. We see this card in multiple formats, even seeing some CDH play, which is pretty exciting. This one had a sellout here. One of the cheapest serialized to see this. Again, right at the beginning of December is when these buyouts started to happen. 190, 210, 210, 200. Based on what we just looked at for a rare serialized card seeing play, especially reminiscent of the Kaladesh Inventions border, I think 190 would have been a steal. And now, guess what? That chance is gone. You got to buy this for $1,500 now. In my estimation, this is too expensive, but I bet you if someone listed at $500, especially with that $1,500 comparable price point listed, it would be snagged up right away. What does that mean? Well, then this could have repriced by the tune of 3 times its value. Yes, I'm speculating, but I really think that's what would happen. Looking at other cheaper serialized cards like Dina, the Soul Steeper. It's a really good commander, very playable, in a very cool treatment here. This one is now available for $500 right now, then $550. If these two get snagged up, the next lowest price is $700. And again, look at the timeline. These started selling right in the beginning of December, end of November. 500, 500, 400, 600, 500, and then 350 was snagged up, and now we're still at that price point. So we're seeing movement for serialized cards in the $500 price point when it was previously stagnant in the months and even year prior. Now I want to stop and show you some eBay sales because there's actually been a very active market of serialized cards sold on eBay over $250 because they have the authenticity guaranteed. It makes the seller feel safe, makes the buyer feel safe. I have no affiliation, I have no relationship with eBay. It's just true. So we've been seeing a lot of serialized cards and high value cards sold on eBay because you ship it to a third party who authenticates and then ships it to the recipient of the card. It decreases fraud, increases security. Yeah, you pay more in fees, but whatever. It's better to make sure that once you sell it, it sells clean. So there's been a lot of sales on eBay for that reason. So let's go through those so I can show you that this is a real phenomenon, not just something the TCG charts are showing. So look at these sales. And again, pay attention to the dates here. We got Croxa, another March of the Machines one, up $500 best offer accepted. Who knows where that was at? I'm guessing probably around the $400 price point. Then another March of the Machine. This one sold for even less than, around that $250 maybe, $240, who can say for sure. But then we have the bobbleheads moving as well, $475 in auction. We have the Elvish Soul Rings here, the human serialized one from Lord of the Rings. That one going for a whopping $2,100. Then Ravnica Remastered, the set we're about to go into, $250 sold, $300 sold. Hellkite Tyrant sold for somewhere below $700, somewhere below $800. Emrakul, somewhere below $3,800. Look at the dates. Sold, sold, sold. It's a shame a lot are best offers. This sold for $3,000. Edgar Markov. Watery Grave, $1,100. We have more sold. They keep going. You can just look at the prices as they go down. So I'm seeing one of two things as we scroll through here. Either people snagging up serialized at that between $200 to $400 price point, or more expensive cards getting sold slightly below their ambitious costs, between again that $300 to $500, maybe even $600 price point as these go, with a few outliers, of course, with Lord of the Rings, which we will talk about later on. This is a great deal. I would have loved this. Spark Double signed, serialized for $379. Sounds good to me. That was back in January. So there's been a clear uptick in these cards selling, as again, people are buying out in that $200 to $600 price range. And then even more for, of course, the shocks. The shock lands are fetching a huge price. They always have been around $1,100 to $1,500, depending on which shock we're talking about. Look, $375, Tie Spout Tyrant. $550 for Bruvac. This brings a great point. Bruvac sold for $550 in January of this year. Now, you want to find a Bruvac on TCG or on eBay? Check this out. There are a bunch of Bruvacs sold for $550 at this price point, which is very interesting. But there's only one active listing now. It's graded and it's $1,886 for Bruvac the Grandiloquent, a 10 out of 10. There are no other listings. And then we check out TCG and it's a similar story there. Bruvac, the only listed price, ungraded, $1,250. That is almost 2.5 times more than the $500 price point we saw the $550 being sold on eBay. Now, if you want Bruvac, you're paying $1,250 raw or $1,800 slabbed. That is a very deliberate, very real price up of these cards. And what this tells me about the inventory is people who have their serialized cards are holding on to them. They're not getting listed that often. When they come up, they're relatively scarce because the serialized card is the creme de la creme for the collector in Magic the Gathering. So if they're not coming up online, the boxes certainly will rise. We'll cover that in one moment. Let's talk about the Ravnica Remastered serialized cards, going through a few more of these price trends just to iron in my point. Mizzix Mastery here, same thing. $600 is now the price point you're looking at for Mizzix Mastery, when just a month ago it was $250, and then before that $400. So a very clear trend upward. Next, Guardian Project, a hugely sought after card, very playable. Even without it being serialized, we're seeing price movement on this card. Cheapest you're getting it is $450 now, but just 3 months ago, you could have got it for $300 over and over again. Again, this is when those buyouts started happening. I don't know if buyout is the correct term. Let's just say increased demand started happening end of December up until today. And now this card has priced up by $150, 50% more. So those are a few more that solidify my point. Let's talk about what this is doing to the boxes themselves. I think you're gonna be surprised by the charts. They match. Look at what's happening here. We see a peak start happening in mid-December-ish, and it's gone nowhere but up. Remember my video from last week about the stagnation of modern boxes? Well, the markets are like water. There is a certain amount of money available in them, and when they flow away from one product, they normally flow to another product, in this case, a product class. Older collector booster boxes that contain serialized cards. And guess what? I'm not trying to induce FOMO here. I just want to talk about the markets and what I'm seeing. This new $750 price point has been proven by those sales. And guess what? We are seeing the most sold in a short amount of time, 7 on this chart. Look, the most we saw was 4, 5 once, and then very little. But now 7 sold at $671. How funny is that? Nobody wanted it at $600. Nobody wanted it really at $574. But now at $670, yeah, let's buy 7 of them. Look at these sales. $750, $700, $650. It just keeps going. That all happened since February. Let's go back to December. A very real repricing of these boxes are occurring as a result of a repricing of the serialized cards and increased interest. It makes sense to me. When you look at a booster box of TMNT for $450 MSRP, or you get one of 500 of a card you like, serialized, guaranteed, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, you can see why the money is flowing away from these newly inflated price points for collector booster boxes. Now, is the same true for March of Machines? Yes, it is, except to a lower extent, which is funny because I think there are more serialized hits in this than Ravnica, or maybe equivalent, but the chart looks the same. The time for it to boom began in mid-December. It's all the same thing happening here. I'm not sure what occurred in December. Maybe it was the release schedule with all the new Universes Beyond stuff coming out. People thinking, you know what? I'm not going to spend my money this year on most of Magic. Let me go back and look at the things I wanted to buy for around the price of a booster box. And maybe people went and said, you know what? I'm going to buy these serialized cards or the boxes that may contain them. So who's to say people are ripping these things or keeping them for investments? But there is a very clear trajectory of repricing here with the price around $400 in October. Nobody really wants them. And now look, 635 items sold all the way on up to $600 now. This is repriced to the tune of $200 in a matter of 3.5 months. Again, this is a consistent trend. Now, what about the insane headliner cards? Let's talk about the boxes with the one chance to pull a serialized card. Not multiple chances like Ravnica or March of the Machines, just one. The only serialized card in Tarkir was Mox Jasper. This card has also seen buyouts. Look at how much price action there was. I legitimately considered buying this back in December for around $1,300. The low price here, $1,250 in February, and now $1,300 in March. But you know what? The opportunity has disappeared. They are all now $2,500 or above for this card. And you got to wonder, maybe these people buying and selling themselves, maybe people buying and then reposting at a higher price to try and get that quick flip. But this tells me there's interest in the Mox Jasper, and the new price point is $2,500. So until someone else prices this lower, this is the new market price for this. What happened with the box now as a result of this? Well, Tarkir is seeing a bump, not as big as the rest, but about an $80 bump in price, which has not happened in 6 months. This box has gone nowhere but really down since May, and now it's seeing almost all-time high prices once more. And guess what? High sale velocity as well. Look at those sales. Look at those sales. So we are seeing for the first time that I can remember repricing of serialized cards moving the sealed collector booster boxes. Now, how about Sothura? This is the unserialized headliner card paradigm, which we also saw with the Soulstone. Soulstone, very quickly, untested market, not sold on TCG, so it's allegedly $30,000. Let's set that aside. Sothura, conversely, has been dropping consistently since its release. It is at an all-time low now of $1,000 for a really, frankly, beautiful card, but we don't know how many were printed, and it's not serialized, so it's much harder to justify the demand. But we are seeing, look at this, a little bit of movement at that $1,000 price point. So people are still interested in this. What's happening with Edge of Eternities? Well, this box is kind of where it was. It's slowly going up from the $490, $450 price point up to 500. We are seeing a repricing for Edge of Eternities as well, although there has been no interest in sales since then. This is when the chart kind of breaks. It should be here just straight. I don't know why it drops down when there's no sales there, but whatever. The chart's broken here. The point remains, it is repricing in the upward direction for Edge of Eternities, a set that's got some really good pulls in it. The Galaxy foils fetch a lot of money. So, the showcase foil cards and the special foil treatments are also a factor. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to focus on serialized. Now, let's talk about the ceiling for serialized cards before people get too FOMO'd into the idea that these are all going to be multi-$1,000 cards that are selling. So first and foremost, let's look at Final Fantasy. I could not find any Golden Chocobo charts to be able to support how that's selling. So the next best thing is the hyper rare black borderless Japanese exclusive Black Chocobo. This one did see a sale. This is the most expensive sale price we're going to show today, $6,000. Now more listed, priced up an extra $600. We'll see if they sell, but this is an exception to the rule that we're about to talk about. With The Hobbit coming out this year, it seemed prudent to go back and re-examine the serialized cards from Lord of the Rings to see what's happening here. If you were to just search serialized Lord of the Rings, your jaw would drop. 18,000, 3,000, 12,000, 4,500, 7,000, 4,000. Oh my God, these cards are incredible. Now, a lot are out of stock. I will grant you that. But let's just take a quick look. For Homeward Path or the Green Dragon Inn, do we have any sales on this? No. None were listed, none were sold, just out of stock. So let's look at the ones that have sold. How about Balin's Tomb? Highly sought after card, right? One listed for $12,000. None have sold. Uh-oh. These high prices are starting to fracture. Let's look at 4,500. Dol Amroth. The Minamo School at the Water's Edge. Really nice card, great in Commander. We have two listings, 4,500 and 4,500. Guess what? None have sold. These are essentially fake numbers. You know what they have in common? They're above $2,000. Look, these were selling at $1,300 and $1,500, similar price points to the high end of the cards we were just talking about from March Machines and Ravnica. There's a very real ceiling. I'm going to posit it's around $1,800 to $2,000 for these cards. This is, I think, the rule we can look at for these cards selling. Not a single one is breaching that $2,000 price point except the Chocobo from Final Fantasy, which again, Final Fantasy in all circumstances is an outlier. These are at $2,000 and still not selling. So we are seeing high movement in serialized cards between $200 to $700 and some in the showcase even reaching up to $1,500 or higher, $7,000. Not sold. So this is the bucket of cold water. This is the reality check on what serialized cards can do. Right now, the Magic market simply does not sustain above $2,000 and reasonably, maybe not even over $1,800 because they simply do not sell. And if you want any more proof about this soft cap on highly sought after cards inside sets, let's take a look at the Chocobos as the final point in this video. Looking at the Neon Ink Chocobo, do you see something here? Not a single one over 2,000, and they've been going down since then. So there's been a condensing pressure, I think, and a repricing of serialized cards and expensive chase cards away from the $200 to $300 price point and refocusing in that $500 to $600 to $700 to capping out at around maybe $1,100, $1,200, $1,500 for the Shocklands as an exception, and then the Chocobos coming down to meet this new price expectation. I know I'm clicking through fast here, but I wanted to illustrate the point that it's not an isolated incident. This is a trend on chase cards, and I think it needs to be discussed as we move into more and more sets that are going to try and trick you into FOMOing into these $30,000 cards. But guess what? They don't move. In fact, the $2,000 to $5,000 cards don't really move. The $18,000 cards certainly don't move. I have not clicked a single Lord of the Rings card here that has not confirmed what I'm saying. So that is my point. That's what I wanted to discuss. We're about to move into the serialized cards coming back into the fray and trying to increase FOMO. And if it's not serialized, it will be a headliner card. Either way, when you approach this next season of serialized cards coming back into the market, like is going to happen with Strixhaven, where we have serialized cards, yes, there's a chance in a few years you're going to see a general repricing of the hits inside these sets. That is true, that can happen. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. What I'm saying is manage your expectations. We are seeing the price point be around what you pay for a collector booster box. which makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So go into the new season with your eyes wide open. Take this information with you. You are now armed with knowledge to enter into the quagmire that is the Magic the Gathering collector booster box buying market. And I hope you found this useful. Now it's time for us to thank our patrons, without whom this channel would not be possible. I greatly appreciate it to all of our $1, $5, and $10 tier patrons at the associate, council, and partner level. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Also, I already made this shout out in a video coming out later this week regarding an amazing deck tech for one of our patrons, but I just want to say it again because this one will come out first. Kevin, you're getting yourself a verbal shout out here. I mistakenly had you at the $1 tier when you're actually a $10 partner. Kevin, thank you very much. I hope this starts to make up for that mistake. Then a special thank you to our senior partners here, Zach Walter, Teacher Johnny, Dragon's Den Games and Hobbies, and Novian L. Then at our equity partner tier, we have Toucher of Wood. He's a carpenter. That's always the thing I'm going to say at the end, just so you know, for context. We are family friendly here. And then finally, our absolute mad lad, our named partner, Thomas McKinney. We really appreciate you and can't wait for your deck tech coming out in a day or two. All right, everyone, if you like this kind of stuff, if you like this conversation, maybe check out the Patreon. You made it this far in the video. I appreciate it. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This was a fun one to make. And again, I think this goes hand in hand with my video last week about the collapsing and sort of condensing of recent collector booster boxes to around that $380 price point, whether it's Universes Beyond or Universes Within, striking that middle range between the MSRP gap between the two. And now we have new information, new price points, and new excitement in serialized cards. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. Does this seem random? Does it seem legit? I think we've gone through enough examples to show a very, very clear trend here in increased interest and a new repricing for what people are willing to pay for serialized cards, as they're removing the gambling aspect out of these new collector booster boxes where the hits feel harder than ever, to just go ahead, buy that chase card for the same price of the collector booster box, and move on with your day. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Otherwise, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for being here. I'm the Nerdy Attorney. Be excellent to each other, play paper magic with your friends, and until next time, court is adjourned.